Welcome to our online worship service of the Kitsap Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I invite you to follow along in the order of service. We'll put the link into the chat. Whoever you are and wherever you have come from this hour, we here are one gathered congregation and all are welcome. Today, we are grateful that we can meet on Zoom safely in our homes. Our hearts go out to all those affected by the fires. My name is Rosemary Dougal, and I am currently on the worship team and the welcoming and membership committee. Our worship leader this morning is our minister, Reverend Jessica Starr Rockers. I would like to welcome any visitors. Please introduce yourself in our chat section. We welcome more interaction with all during our after-service coffee hour. The link to the Zoom coffee hour is in the chat box. You will also need the password CARING with a capital C to get into the coffee hour. The announcements are in our webpage, or on our webpage, www.kuuf.org, or our weekly email newsletter, The Candle. We would like to start today by acknowledging that the land on which we all live is the Aboriginal territory of the Suquamish, the Squaxin, and the Skokomish people. They have lived in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's Central Salish Sea for thousands of years. These tribes still live here and protect the land and waters of their ancestors for future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855.
Let's go, whoever you are, let's go. Come travel with me.
Good morning. I would like to light our chalice for Kitsap Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. And our chalice lighting words: guided by love, secured by hope, made courageous by faith, we gather together at a moment of beginning.
Both learning and teaching, welcoming the hurt and the healing, ever justice seeking, we bless this fellowship with our love.
With wanderers and seekers, growing children and cherished seniors, guided by ancestors and by leaders, we bless this fellowship with our hope.
Praying and resolving, trusting and involving, some settled, some evolving, we bless this fellowship with our faith.
Let us receive our gathering today as a gift. May it inspire renewed commitment to our shared covenant of love, hope, and faith.
May our eyes be open to opportunity for a collective liberation within, throughout, and beyond.
And may the blessings we come to know through that vision be a blessing to the world. Amen.
Please join in singing our opening hymn, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In. The words will appear on your screen. Please join me in the spoken affirmation. The words will appear on your screen. We gather as a caring community, seeking life's deeper meanings. We value diversity and affirm the worth of all living things. We strive to speak truth in love, to act for justice, to grow in spirit, and to care for the earth. We celebrate with open hearts and minds the creative power that sustains and transforms us. And now it is time for our morning offering. To make an online contribution, please click on the PayPal link in the chat box. You may also send a check to the church's P.O. Box address on your screen. You may then email admin@kuuf.org to let us know if your donation is for the KUUF General Fund or this month's charitable giving recipient, Kitsap Mental Health, or the KUUF Ministers Discretionary Fund, which helps our members in need. If this is your first time with KUUF, there's no need to contribute, as you are our guest. Let there be an offering to strengthen and sustain this fellowship, which is sacred to so many of us.
Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere, its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's now time for our children's story. So I would like to invite the young and the young at heart to sit a little bit closer to the screen. And I want to ask you if you remember the story that I told, maybe it was last year, about the bundle of sticks. You remember. Well, if you don't remember, I'm going to tell you the story quickly now. So there once was an elderly woman who lived on a farm. She had lots of children. And day in and day out, her children would fight. And they would fight over the littlest things, and sometimes they would go a long time without speaking to one another. Well, this woman knew that she wasn't going to be around forever. And so she wanted her children and her farm to survive. So one day she gathered a bundle of sticks and she invited her children over. And she took out one stick and she said to them, when you fight, you are like this single stick. And she easily broke it. And she said, when you stay together, you are strong. And you're like the bundle of sticks. And she took up the bundle of sticks and she tried to break that and she couldn't break it. Well, when I told this story in the sanctuary, I passed around a single stick and everybody broke their single stick very easily. And then I passed around the bundle of sticks and everybody tried really hard to break the bundle of sticks and they couldn't. Nobody could break the bundle of sticks, though some of you tried very hard. Well, the sticks, when they were together, were stronger, right? Well, I've been thinking about how this applies to us when we are separated from one another, when we can't be together physically. What does it mean to be that bundle of sticks and be together and be stronger? And we're still strong, even though we might be physically separated. And I've been thinking about it and I realized why this was so. So there is a story that I was told when I was a child by my minister. And this is a story from the Bible. And it is the story of the loaves and the fishes. And so I want to tell you this story. And it is a story about a man named Jesus who lived 2,000 years ago in ancient Jerusalem. Maybe you've heard of him, maybe. And he was known for being a miracle worker. And he traveled around preaching and he started to gain quite a following for all of the miracles that he was doing. And well, one day he was preaching and he had gone on so long, it was late, and he realized there were 5,000 people that had gathered to see him preach. And all of these people had traveled a really long way to hear him speak, and it was very late, and he felt a lot of compassion for them. And so he told his friends, all of these people have shown up here hungry, and I don't want them to go away hungry, so we need to feed them. And his friends said, we can't feed them. We only have 7 loaves and 2 fish. And he said, trust me, it will be enough. And so he broke the loaves and he took 2 baskets and he put a fish in each and he passed it around. And Would you believe it? But all the people ate, and all the people were satisfied. They had all been fed. Well, at the end, when Jesus and his friends cleaned up, they found 7 baskets of leftover food, and they thought, this is a miracle. How is it that these 2 baskets turned into feeding 5,000 people with 7 baskets left over? Well, let me tell you what I think. I think that those 2 baskets went around with that small amount of food, and the 5,000 people who had gathered, there were some who brought food to share, and there were some people who showed up and they didn't have any food. And so as the baskets went around and more people put in new baskets, they filled them up with food if they had extra to share, and if they didn't have enough food, they took some out for themselves. And that's how everybody got fed. And they all had more in the end than when they started because everybody shared. And I think that this is how we stay strong during times like this. Sometimes we can't physically be like those sticks staying together, but we are bundling ourselves in a different way by caring for one another, giving when we have extra, and taking when we need it. And that is how we will all have enough. And it's not really a miracle, is it? It's just kindness and community. And it also means we have to let our lights shine. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Should we sing our song?
Yeah.
Okay. So get ready. And William, if you're coming in.
I'm here.
Okay. So this little light of mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. All around the world, all around the world, I'm gonna let it shine. Shine, and thank you for singing along. We have to keep letting our lights shine during these uncertain times. And now is the time for our joys and our sorrows. Though we are physically distanced from one another, our hearts and our spirits remain connected. When shared together, our joys are amplified and our sorrows lessened. If you have a personal joy or sorrow to share, I invite you to put that in the chat this morning. And I do want to offer a prayer for all those who are displaced from their homes, all those who have lost loved ones or lost their homes because of the wildfires. The smoke that we see out our windows this morning represents all these people and their lives and all of the wildlife as well, and all those sacred places. And so the smoke is sacred. And I'm just sending my heart out to those folks and to that smoke. May those who are suffering today find peace and community and the help that they need and hope as well. Bonner shared, with all the smoke here lately, I have a joy for Jennifer, our parish nurse, who gave us the great idea for an improvised do-it-yourself in-home air filter. My filter is already gray since running from Friday night, but I am breathing easier. Thank you, Jennifer. We're so grateful to Jennifer for all of the care that she gives us as our parish nurse. Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. You've just been wonderful. And thank you, Bonner. Emilia, joy for seeing pictures of Griffin in his new home. What a joy. I'm so glad you're sharing that with us, Emilia. I'm so glad to hear that. I bet Griffin is really happy. Karen shares about Diane Hudnall, who is having knee surgery on Monday. Please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. Our thoughts go out to Diane. Maya says, joy that today is my best friend Ada's birthday. Happy birthday, Ada. Chris, sorrow to all beings who have burned. Amen. Lisa says, in this time of fire, smoke, and displacement, my joy is that Joe Walter is collecting items to go to Central Oregon to help those in need. We'll have clothing and blankets to drop off Joe. So, Joe, I don't know if you want to, or Lisa, if you want to put contact information in the chat for folks to donate something, that would be great. And I could read it aloud either now or later in the service. Matthias and Bunny, sorrow for the loss of my sister-in-law's brother. He passed away 2 weeks ago from complications of COVID combined with the sleeping pill he took to get rest. He leaves behind his wife and 8-year-old daughter. Our hearts go out to him and his family and all of you and your family. Gratitude from Joe for the contributions of material needs provided for the people affected by the fires. Amen. Marcia says, our sorrow is that Glenn's cousin Aaron J. Danielson was killed in Portland, and for the loss of Michael Reinhold, a suspect. Our hearts are with you. Guy says, concern for our son-in-law, Scott, who was diagnosed with COVID. Well, we hope Scott is taking care of himself and that he feels better soon. Terry, I am feeling joy and gratitude for our wonderful board retreat yesterday. Amen. Genevieve, Morgan, and Nathan say, joy and sorrow that Morgan has started for kindergarten online. This passage of time celebration has been affected by COVID. Yes. We're with you in sharing that joy and sorrow. Matthias and Bunny, joy for our friend Lisa staying with us this week. Welcome, Lisa. Bonner, concern for my personal unemployment benefits, which inexplicably did not pay out to me last week. I hope that this is not the end of them for me. Bonner, we are with you. If you need anything, reach out. You know that. And Chris, happy for George, whose paintings are recognized as wonderful. We're happy for George too, for that. And I have a sorrow and a joy to share from Kathy Money, who is gaining custody of her grandson this week. And she just wants to share that with folks. It is both a sorrow and a joy for her. Joe, put in contributions are being gathered at 310 South Constitution Avenue in West Bremerton. Call or text 360-551-6944 if you need help with picking up your gifts. 360-551-6944, and it's 310 South Constitution Ave in West Bremerton. Thank you so much, Joe, for doing that. Liz shares joy and concern for the beginning of the new school year. It's so difficult for so many families. Well, amen to that, Liz. Our hearts are with you, the teachers, and all the families who are starting this very difficult beginning to a school year. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. May you who shared this morning feel the love of this community surrounding you, holding you close. For all those whose sorrow or joy is too tender to share, our hearts are with you. May the spirit of life and love bring peace to us all. Amen, and blessed be.
Welcome, everyone. I am so thrilled to be recording this ritual today. It is Thursday, September 10th, and we are commissioning our new KUUF pastoral care team. So as we begin, I'm going to light our chalice and open with a prayer. May I become, at all times, both now and forever, a protector of those without protection, a guide for those who have lost their way, a ship for those with oceans to cross, a bridge for those with rivers to cross, a sanctuary for those in danger, a lamp for those without light, a place of refuge for those who lack shelter, and a servant to all in need for as long as space endures, and for as long as living beings remain. Until then, may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world. This is the prayer of an 8th century monk named Shantideva. It is also a prayer that is appropriate for our new pastoral care associates. Gathered here today is Jerry Butler, Jessica Demick, and Karen Leader-Scott, our new pastoral care team. Normally, we would be gathered in the sanctuary, doing this on a Sunday morning with everyone around, but instead we are on Zoom, pre-recording this ritual. And I think the discomfort of doing it this way just highlights why it is so important during this time of uncertainty in the middle of this pandemic, while fires rage around us, why it is so important to have this team coming together now to serve the congregation in this way. And before we get into the ritual, I want to take a moment to talk about what pastoral care is. Historically, it is when the pastor provides care to a congregation. And when someone is going through a difficult time emotionally or spiritually, when they have theological questions or concerns, when they are sick in the hospital, when they are lonely and need a friend. when someone close to them has died. All of these are reasons to call the minister. But in this congregation, we practice shared ministry, which means no one person does anything alone, not even the minister. And so as we share in the various ministries of this congregation, we also share in the caring, in the pastoral care. We are called to love one another. And so the pastoral ministry of this fellowship is not just in my hands, but in all of our hands. And at KUUF, we have small groups like our CHALICE circles and book groups. We have our neighborhood groups. We have our caring committee who writes letters and offers meals and rides. We have our parish nurse, Jennifer Ingalls, who provides medical support to our fellowship. And we have our welcoming team for our newest members and friends. And today, we commission our new pastoral care team. This is a team of thoughtful, caring, spiritual souls who recently completed an extensive training, 20 to 25 hours of training through the Unitarian Universalist Association to learn how to provide one-on-one confidential pastoral and spiritual care. The pastoral care team is here to provide a listening, caring space for reflection about your emotional and spiritual journey. They take this commitment very seriously. This is their ministry. Jerry, Jessica, and Karen, as the minister of Kitsap Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, I am so grateful for your willingness to serve in this role. As pastoral care team members, I charge you to be a caring listener to your fellow congregants, to sit with them in their pain and celebrate with them in their joy. I charge you to care for yourselves and one another, to be generous in spirit and to ask for help when you need it. May you know that your care is powerful. May you know that I am here to guide and support you. And may you know that you are enough. And I'm going to ask you to unmute yourselves while I ask you these questions. Are you committed to offering and encouraging pastoral care within this congregation?
We are.
Will you lead by example in your actions and in your words, in your pastoral prayers and in your personal spiritual life?
We will.
Will you reach out to those in need with open minds and open hearts, seeking always to be a healing presence?
We will.
As your minister and on behalf of KUUF, we officially commission you as our pastoral care team for this coming year. Hooray. Thank you and bless you. And I'm going to extinguish this chalice. Amen. May it be so. May I become at all times, both now and forever, a protector of those without protection, a guide for those who have lost their way, a ship for those with oceans to cross, a bridge for those with rivers to cross, a sanctuary for those in danger, a lamp for those without light, a place of refuge for those who lack shelter, and a servant to all in need for as long as space endures, and for as long as living beings remain. Until then, may I too abide to dispel the misery of the world.
Well, almost 13 years ago, I joined a Unitarian Universalist congregation on Bainbridge Island because I had a new baby. I had a new baby and no extended family living nearby. It was just my husband and I was looking for connection. I was looking for a place where my child and I could show up hungry. You know those places. Sometimes it's our parents' house, sometimes it's a grandparent, an aunt or uncle, or even a friend. For me, growing up, I had two grandmothers who lived nearby, and both places I could walk in the door at any time of the day and know I would get fed. I could show up hungry. I could show up tired. I could show up broke and lonely and needing my laundry done. And I knew I would be cared for. I knew there was someone there who would always be happy to see me walk through the door. This is what I wanted for my child those 13 years ago, a place of unconditional love, a place to show up hungry, a place to come home to. This is what the tradition of Homecoming Sunday means, the UU tradition of ingathering, where everyone who has wandered, everyone who has drifted away, everyone who's grown a little disconnected over the summer or longer, we all come back together. It is meant to be the one Sunday where everyone comes home to a place where you know, when you walk in the door, no matter where you've been or how long you've been gone, everyone is happy to see you. And we all celebrate together the start of the school year, the adventures we may have had since we parted, and we turn our thoughts to the upcoming holidays. It is a joyous time of year, one of my favorites. But this year, in the midst of the smoke and the sickness, our homecoming tradition barely resembles itself. What does this ritual mean now, today? Because it still matters. It matters more than ever. When we are separated, stuck in our homes apart, homestaying rather than homecoming, in this moment, when our traditions have been turned upside down, we come to the truth of what actually matters. What is it that connects us? How can we be home for one another in this way? How can we show up hungry and know we will be fed? In her book, Emergent Strategy, Adrienne Marie Brown says, "Your existence, who and how you are, is in and of itself a contribution to the people and place around you. Not after or because you do some particular thing, but simply the miracle of your life. And the people around you and the places have contributions as well. Your quality of life and your survival are tied to how authentic and generous the connections are between you and the people and place where you live. The quality of our lives and our survival is tied to how authentic and generous the connections are between ourselves and the people around us. Maybe you are like me and you joined this fellowship because you were yearning for connection, authentic, generous, loving relationships where we can show up for one another and know that when we need it, our community will show up for us. Looking back on the history of this fellowship, it is fair to say that the quality of these relationships are what has ensured its survival. Caring for one another is how we survive and how we heal. These days, our connections have been stretched and tested. It is difficult to nurture authentic connection when most people with whom we have relationships are just beyond our reach inside a screen. It is difficult to be generous with one another and real with one another when we can't always be in the same space. Many of us have been turning to nature in the last few months and meeting outside with one another in our masks, standing 6 feet apart. But this weekend, even going outside became dangerous. So today, we set our minds to cultivating resilience. Today is homecoming. And even though we are separated in our homes behind these screens, trying to stay safe and out of the smoke, Today we show up here and we worship together. To worship means to create something of worth, to identify that which is sacred and holy. And we identify this place today as holy. We identify this fellowship as sacred, and these relationships as more important than ever. Caring for one another is how we cultivate resilience. And today, we come home. We show up hungry. We show up tired. We show up maybe in our pajamas, who knows? We show up today maybe not even feeling so well because of the smoke and the worry and the stress. Today, in this virtual space, we walk through the door and know that we are home. You are needed. You are necessary. Your connection to this fellowship is sacred. And so I want to invite you to consider, how are you staying connected? Now that we have gathered ourselves in, caring for one another as we face whatever the weeks or the months ahead may bring, I want you to ask yourself, where are those places, those relationships, those people, in this fellowship in particular, but outside in other parts of your life as well? Where can you show up hungry and know you will be fed? We are blessed in this congregation to have multiple places of connection. Neighborhood groups is one that just got restarted, where members are connected with folks who live in their neighborhood. It's an opportunity to check in from time to time, maybe hang out if it's safe. And mostly it's just to know who lives near you, to know who your neighbors are from this fellowship, who is nearby if you need something. In times like this, when some days we can't leave our homes at all, it makes a difference knowing who lives close. If you are a KUUF member, you should know the names of the people in your neighborhood group, who your group leader is. And if you don't, you can email Tanisha or myself, and we will get you that list. Tanisha, our admin, is admin@kuuf.org, and my email is minister@kuuf.org. Another place of connection is our CHALICE circles, which are open to both members and friends. Our CHALICE circles are meeting on Zoom right now, a regular opportunity to share and to listen, a place to truly show up hungry, a place to be supported in your spiritual life and just in your day-to-day. A small group ministry where folks get to know one another and build those authentic, generous connections. If you're interested in joining a CHALICE circle and having a group to meet with regularly, reach out to me and I will connect you. Whether you are new to this fellowship or have been a long-time member or friend, you can join a circle anytime. Bring the gift of your presence to one of these spaces. Take this opportunity to build these connections. And during our service this morning, we saw a couple other places where folks connect. First, we had a chalice lighting from our new board of trustees. Their board retreat was just yesterday. We talked about service and leadership as spiritual practice. Joining a committee and taking on some leadership, particularly during a time of crisis, is a powerful statement of faith. Yesterday, our board renewed its commitment to showing up and representing you, the congregation, making sound decisions and financial choices, and seeing KUUF through this unusual and difficult year. And I want to express my deep gratitude to the board for being willing to serve right now amidst everything, and for bringing hope and love and faith to this moment. In order to build a caring, beloved community, we must be able to vision it. And this group of folks brings that vision and that heart with them. We should all be very grateful to them for their leadership. And we have a brand new group that we just saw commissioned, the ceremony we just saw, the pastoral care team. And so I want to take a moment to talk about this ministry as well. In the past, we have had a listening team and we've had other ways of getting emotional support. This is the latest evolution of that ministry. The pastoral care team is simply here to listen. The caring committee is still offering rides and meals, and deep gratitude to them for that. But the pastoral care team is a separate group here to provide a supportive presence. To meet with someone on the pastoral care team, you email pastoralcare@kuuf.org. They provide confidential, emotional, and spiritual support. And as we continue through this pandemic, this increasingly uncertain time, and enter into those long winter months, I want to encourage you to reach out if you want to talk to someone. The pastoral care team and I are here to listen. Part of that feeling of coming home, of walking through the door and being met with love, is how it calls us back to ourselves, our true selves, calls us back to the places that hold pieces of us. And we enter that space. And with help, with deep listening from another person, we find those pieces again. And we are reminded who we are, and that here in this place, we belong. To make these connections in all these areas, whether it's learning the names of folks in your neighborhood group or joining a CHALICE circle or receiving pastoral care, all of this is a mutual connection. You do have to be willing to show up hungry. You do have to be willing to be vulnerable, to be real, to show folks who you really are. But this is the time. We're already vulnerable. We must begin the practice of reaching out. Joining our worship service today is part of this. Staying connected in this way matters too. Clicking the button to log on to the Zoom call. This is how we will continue to foster our authentic, generous relationships. And make no mistake, our survival depends on these connections. So reach out and know that whether you are giving or receiving, you are needed. In this moment, each one of us is necessary with whatever we have to give. We all have an important part to play in the creation of a world that truly cares for one another. It takes courage to care. It takes courage to love in the face of fear. But we're like that little bundle of sticks. We are stronger together. And we have to share our loaves and our fishes, giving when we can, taking when we need to, and knowing that if we all do that, everyone gets fed. And even though we can't sing together in the same space as we used to, I want to remind us of how a choir sustains a note. When a choir wants to hold a note for a very long time, longer than any one person could do alone, they do something called staggered breathing. They take turns taking a breath. So sometimes we might be the one holding the note, and sometimes we might be the one taking a breath. Remember to take a breath when you need to. Take a rest, and trust that while you are breathing and resting, someone else is holding the note until you can come back and sing again. And trust that this place is always a place where you can walk in the door hungry and know that you will be fed. And now, let us watch our homecoming slideshow. So many of you sent in wonderful selfies. And when you see each face appear on the screen, send them a little blessing. This is our beloved community, where even now, even here, we meet on holy ground.
We're on holy ground, right where we are. We're on holy ground, under these shining stars. We're on holy ground. When we reach for each other with our hearts, we're on holy ground. If life is a journey between birth and death, then every step we take matters with every breath. And each path we follow leads us somewhere or to someone to walk beside. We're on holy ground, right where we are. We're on holy ground, under these shining stars. We're on holy ground, when we reach for each other with our hearts. We're on holy ground. If we are all pilgrims between here and there, then everyone we meet matters. Each day we share, and no one's a stranger, just a brother or a sister we didn't know. We're on holy ground, right where we are. We're on holy ground, under these shining stars. We're on holy ground, when we reach for each other with our hearts. We're on holy ground. If there is a heaven beyond earth and sky, it's made of moments here that matter with you and I. There's no destination more full of grace than this place we meet again. We're on holy ground, right where we are. We're on holy ground, under these shining stars. We're on holy ground, when we reach for each other with our hearts. We're on holy ground, right where we are. We're on holy ground, under these shining stars. We're on holy ground, when we reach for each other with our hearts. We're on holy ground.
Well, I invite you now to set an intention and choose your word for the week ahead. You can choose a word or phrase, and if you feel called to, put it in the chat, and I will read them aloud. Jane says, lift up. Maya, connection. Amelia, peace. Peace, reparations, spread love, dispel hate. Clarity. Rest on the strength of my ancestors. Gratitude. Emotional vacation, embracing. Heal. Connection. Humility. Quality. Together. I would add faith, hope and love to those words. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your intentions. We also have patience. Patience. Showing up. Encompass. Slowness. Thank you, everybody. The words resonate in our hearts in the week ahead. May we carry them with us. And now for our closing hymn, we are building a new way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. Feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Free of hate, greed, and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom, that is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world would die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Well, thank you everyone for being here today. Please join us after this for coffee hour. The link and the password will appear on your screen and they will appear in the chat. And you can actually click on the link that appears in the chat and it will take you right to coffee hour. And the password is caring with a capital C, C-A-R-I-N-G. And the question for our small groups during coffee hour is, how are you staying connected? How are you staying connected? So I encourage you, if you feel like it, to chat about that in the groups at coffee hour. Let us now extinguish our chalice together. And let me close with these words from Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. Amen, Ashe, may it be so.